successfully completed. What is meant by reproduction? What is clear-cut divisions of reproductive systems of human being? The primary organisms, how they are producing. Okay. So today, we people are going to discuss about the complete conclusion regarding that reproduction. Okay. The tagline for the lesson is the generating system. Reproduction, conclusion of reproduction. Once we have to remake the complete lesson clearly now. So what is meant by reproduction? What is the need of the reproduction? What is the compulsory needs of the reproduction here now? Do you know clearly different kinds of life processes useful for maintaining the activities of the organisms? So for example, the process of nutrition, it's very essential for the supplying of nutrients to the growth and development of an organism. Clear? So the respiration mechanism, it is also called as energy releasing system. So when we are taking the glucose molecules into the body, the glucose molecules are break down in presence of oxygen molecules. And again, releasing the energy to the releasing energy and supplying to the body of an organism. Clear it is. That's why this is commonly called as energy releasing system. Okay. So third one, transportation. This is commonly called as circulatory system. Here, number of substances, hormones, enzymes, food molecules, nutrients, oxygen, carbon dioxide, gases and minerals. These all can be transported to one place to another place. That's why this is also commonly called as a circulatory system. All the materials, including the medicines and chemicals and drugs, what we are present in our body itself now. And the hormones and enzymes supplied and present, secreted and supplied to the body also. And distributed to different parts of the body. This credit is only goes to for the transportation. Of course, the circulatory system. Okay. Next one, excretion. Excretion means the waste disposing system. Waste disposing system. Most of the waste materials are generated in the body during the metabolic activities of the body. Several kinds of waste materials are generated. These materials are compulsory disposed from time to time. Otherwise, these can accumulate in the body. This can also cause the great problem to the particular organisms. Sometimes, if these waste materials are not discharged, the animal will ultimately die soon. Okay, so this is also a very important life process, excretion. Next one, coordination. What is meant by coordination? So this is commonly called the linking system. Okay, coordination in the multicellular organisms performing by two kinds of mechanisms. Okay, so first one is through the hormones and second one is through the nervous system, through the neurons. Okay, neurons can also coordinate both externally and internally. Mostly the hormones can also coordinate our body mostly by internally mechanism. Internally. Clear it is. So then after, the next lesson is called as the reproduction. This is called as the generating system. New organisms are generated. Otherwise, within few generations and coming generations, the animal species will extend if the reproduction is absent. That's why the reproduction is main important process, which is also useful for continuation of life or perpetuation of its race. Perpetuation of race in a particular species. Reproduction is very mandatory to maintain the continuation of life of an organisms and perpetuation of its race. Okay. So how the primary organisms can reproduce? Mostly I don't want to write on the blackboard now. You people have to revise once. Clear? So first of all, unicellular organisms. Once reback all the lesson once again. Primary organisms like for example protozoans, mostly the unicellular organisms. They can also reproduce by their reproduce to their young ones. By the simple mechanism is called as the fission. Okay, it might be as a binary fission or maybe the multiple fission. Okay, so for example, a bacteria, protozoans, Amoeba, these are mostly amoeba, euglena, paramecium, these are all commonly can maintain their next offsprings by the process called as the binary fission. During the favorable conditions, during unfavorable conditions, by these two kinds of mechanisms, the paramecium can automatically produce their young ones by the binary fission and by the multiple fission. That is commonly called as the conjugation sometimes. Okay, so for example, some of the bacteria can also produce vast number of one by making the curd materials. So for example, curdling of milk. Curdling of milk. This is the day-to-day life activity. When we are making the curdling of milk, more amount of bacteria, that is commonly called as the lab. Do you know what is called lab? Lactic acid bacteria, simply called as lactobacillus. Within few hours, through the whole night, of course, sometimes, crores of bacteria, millions and crores of bacteria can produce within this particular rapid time now, rapidly dividing now. Clear? So this is also kind of best example is called as fission, mostly the binary fission. Okay. Some of the organisms can also propagate it naturally. Okay. So natural propagation, once we have to discuss now. Natural propagation. So in this mechanism, we are going to discuss clearly now. Binary fission, see this. Binary fission, budding. Okay. Fragmentation, parthenogenesis, regeneration. So these are the simple mechanisms which can producing the new offsprings. Binary fission, best example for binary fission, mostly the paramecium. One organism splits into two or equal bits now. Budding, best example is called yeast. Okay. So here example, paramecium and also the bacteria and amoeba. These are all best example for the binary fission. So budding example, yeast. Buds are formed on the surface of the body of the adult one. Okay. Fragmentation, example mostly algae, some of the fungi, Spirogyra, most of the green algae, some kinds of fungi, and also including the lichens. Best example for fragmentation. The accidental breaking of the thallus, the accidental breaking of any part of the body now. They can produce the new organisms once again. So this is process is called as fragmentation. Next one, parthenogenesis. Basically, this is a kind of a mode of both the sexual and asexual type now. Basically, when the male and the female gametes are fused with each other, there might be chance of formation of the zygote. Whereas here the female gamete directly forms as a zygote without the fusion of the male gamete here. Such a process occurs in the plants is called as parthenocarpe. In animals is called as parthenogenesis. Generally, whatever it may be, the two mechanisms are also common. Without the fusion of male gamete, female gamete directly fused into a zygote now. When the male gamete is fused with the zygote, for example, when the male gamete is fused with the female one, they are compulsory formed as a diploid. When the female gamete is only fusion without the fusion of the male one, when it is combined, when it is formed as a new form one, that is commonly called as a monoploid. Okay, now. So the last one, regeneration. Example for planaria. It's the best example for platform. Platyhelminthes. Any part of the body is breaks. From that particular one, new organism is automatically produced. No, regeneration ability is very high in these particular kind of a planarians. Okay, some of the lizards and starfishes, some of the earthworms also have the regeneration in a particular time, in a particular part of the body only. Okay. Next, then some of the methods, natural propagation in the plants itself. Now, some plants can also propagate it by their leaves. For example, by stems. Okay, just like for example, the stolons, bulbs, carms, okay, and by roots. All these are very clear. Once again, we have to reback now. Leaves, example, bryophyllum. On the part of the one, on the margins of the leaf, a small bud skin appears. When these buds completely matures, they may fall to the ground. These buds can also give us a new plant once again. These kind of buds are commonly called as epiphyllous buds or leaf buds. Okay. So by the stems, for example, these are big, stem cells. Example now, runners, grass plants mostly. Most of the grass plants, they're also arranged in a creeper-like arrangement on the ground itself now. The weak stems can also form as a new root system once again continuously. Accidental breaking of this one, they can also form as a continuous creeping-like arrangement now. Okay, next one, stolons, strawberry. Okay, best example for the strawberry now. Stolons also. They have separate structures. They can also useful to produce the new offsprings once again. Clear now? Bulbs, onions, allium cepa, and carms, colocasia, and again roots through the roots. For example, radish, carrots, dahlia. These are the best examples of the vegetative propagation through the root, through the asexual modes of reproduction naturally. Okay, some of the mechanisms we can propagate by artificial methods. So these are commonly called as vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation. So in these examples, clearly, na? Cutting, layering, grafting. Last technique is called as tissue culture. See this cutting best example is rose and hibiscus. Okay, layering example nerium. Grafting example guava, mango, sapota. Okay, tissue culture example I will discuss now. Wait. Cutting when the matured branch of a plant, especially for the rose or hibiscus, when this matured branch is taken with along with a small bud, when it is in a separate place, within few days, this cutting branch, this matured cutting branch can also form as a new plant once again. Okay, the producing offspring having the same characters what the parent one have. Clear it is. So here there is no involvement of any kind of a sexual organ involvement. This is completely called as vegetative propagation. Vegetative parts of the any part of the one plant one. So here layering, nerium, the weak branch when it is completely touches to the soil, this particular plant can make automatically a new plant once again. This touching part of the one plant, they can form the new root system. When we plug this one, we can automatically produce a new plant once again now. Okay, best example is called as an nerium. Here the grafting, a cleft is making here. So here, so for example, the base part what we are taken, that is called as a stalk. The top part of the stalk is cut off. The base part of the cyan is cut off. So for example, this is the base part of the stalk now, stalk plant. One cleft is making here now. Or understand, the top part one is called as the cyan, the desirable qualities plant. These two making just like as some small incision and tied with a thread within few days. The part what we are connecting, they can also combine the new tissue again. Formation of the new tissue once again. These two parts are combined with each other and forms continuously a single plant with having the desired qualities. The desired qualities of the plant within a short span we can producing by the mechanism is called as the grafting mechanism. These three mechanisms can be done or by simply die by man-made. Whereas the tissue culture also man-made mechanism, but this is completely occurs in the laboratory, done in the laboratory. Technology is mostly important for this kind of a process itself now. So here tissue culture means mostly all the plants have a kind of an ability that is commonly called as totipotency. Totipotency, the ability of the plant cell to give rise to a whole plant from a single cell or a tissue is taken. This ability is only goes to for the plant cells. So here in this one, within the laboratory, a test tube is taken, growing factors, just like these are called as the plant growth hormones are taken, a little bit tissue is taken from the desired qualities that are selected plant here within few days. So basically this is commonly called as a callus tissue. The plant what we are selected for the tissue culture is called as an explant. From the explant, a kind of a tissue is taken. This is called as the callus. The callus within few days can also makes the small shoot system and also the root system. This kind of a plants can propagate it by number of test tubes. Within few days, thousands of plants can be propagated by having our desired qualities. Okay, what kind of plants are propagated by this kind of tissue culture? Mostly the medicinal plants, the endangered plants can be propagated by this tissue culture method within a short span. Thousands to millions of plants can also automatically propagated now by this method. And next one, spore formation. Do you know what is meant by spore formation? Mostly best example is called for fungus. Regularly, we understand the fungal thallus, the fungal structures can also have the sporangium, bearing the sporangium. When the sporangium can matures, the spores can automatically falls down to the ground or to the any surface of the one. They can automatically produce the new plant once again. Of course, the new fungal structures once again. This is by making of the spore formation. Okay. Next one, sporophylls. Best example, fern plants. On the lower surface of the fern plant, a kind of a nodule-like structures are present. If these are we understand clearly by the microscope, we can understand number of spores are present here. These spores can also form as a new plant once again. These are all best examples of vegetative propagations other than the sexual organs involvement. Clear? So this is the propagation presenting in the plants itself now. Natural propagations and vegetative propagations are natural and artificial. Of course, the man-made things. Man-made mechanisms. Next one, fertilization. The fertilization is basically two types now. External and internal. External fertilization and internal fertilization. Here in the external fertilization, here for example, male and female, for example, if you are taken this, when the in the external fertilization, both male and female organisms releasing their gametes to the outside of the body of the one. Okay, for example, so best example for external fertilization, fishes and amphibians. Fishes and amphibians, for example, amphibians example, just for example, frog for example. Now, fishes and frogs releasing their male animals, of course the male fishes releasing the sperm cells into the water. Basically, this is commonly called as the milt. Female frogs or female fishes releasing the eggs into the water. This is called as a span. Accidentally, okay, by chance, these male gametes fuse with egg cells. This is by chance fertilization, where the fertilization fusion of male and female gametes occurs completely outside of the female body or outside of the mother. Okay, this kind of fertilization is completely called as external fertilization. So for this external fertilization, several kinds of climatic factors can influence. Okay, fertility chances are too less. I understand nearly 1 to 2% success rate is only present here in this particular external fertilization, because there might be a completely influenced by several kinds of external factors, or humidity or light intensity or several kinds of temperature might be anyone. Whereas in internal fertilization, male animal deposits the sperm cells directly into the body of the female, where the fertilization process completely occurs in the internal part of the female body or to the mother. Okay, where the fertility chances are too high. Or understand, this kind of fertilization is commonly called as internal fertilization. Mostly the reptiles, birds, and mammals. Reptiles, birds, and mammals can possess this kind of internal fertilization. Whereas the human beings are best example for internal fertilization. You know very well clearly male reproductive system and female reproductive system of the human beings. Okay, in male reproductive system, one pair of testicles or testes are present in the scrotal sacs in the lower abdomen, just below the penis. Okay, the testis secretes the male sex hormone is called as the testosterone. Okay, this testosterone is responsible for the secondary sexual characters in the males. Okay, so within the testis, several kinds of tubules. Those are called seminiferous tubules. Okay, seminiferous tubules after vas efferentia. Okay, then after vas efferentia opens into epididymis. Epididymis opens into vas deferens. Vas deferens opens into ejaculatory duct. Ejaculatory duct opens into urethra or to the penis. Whereas the testicles maintains the temperature nearly by 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius lower than that of the normal temperature of the body, that is by 37 degrees Celsius. Understand what is the point here now? Basically our body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius by the room temperature now. Okay, 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius lower than the normal temperature, nearly by 35.5. Okay, approximately by this is the clear cut temperature to maintain the production of the sperm cells in the males. Okay, total body temperature of the males is not by the 35 to 36 degrees Celsius. Testicles maintain this kind of a lower temperature than the normal temperature. Okay, so that's a clear point here. This lower temperature is responsible or need for the production of the sperm cells in the males. Okay, the testosterone can also useful for the production of the sperm cells by onset of the adolescence. Clearly, na? Okay, so these testes can also produce the testosterone and also the sperm cells. The sperm cells activity is completely very clear by the making of the head region and middle region and also the tail region. These three parts are also included in the sperm cells. Along with these particular parts, some of the accessory glands, Cowper's glands and prostate glands are also present. They secretes the semen. The semen can also supply the nutrients to the sperm cells while they are during the coitus time. Okay, so this is the main important regarding points of the human male reproductive system. Whereas, for example, in the female reproductive system, one pair of ovaries are present in the lower abdomen, just below this location clearly. Na? These ovaries are responsible for production of egg cells by onset of the 12 to 13 years. That is by first menarche. Okay, by starting of the first menarche onwards up to the age of 45 or 40 to 45 years of age, the production of the egg cells is occurs continuously again and again. This process is commonly called as ovulation. Okay, production of ovules from the ovaries from the female body is commonly called as ovulation. Okay, after the 40 to 45 years, ovulation process completely stops now. Then it is commonly called as menopause. There is no separate menopause stages are present in the males. Production of sperm cells occurs continuously up to the life ending now. But the activity and motility of the sperm cells is automatically decreasing by increasing the age. Clear? So whereas when the sperm cells are combining with or fusion with the egg cell, there might be a chance for the production. There might be a chance for the formation of zygote. When the zygote is forming, clear? See this now once. These are ovaries. Okay. This is called as fallopian tube. This is called as ovary. Okay. These are called as fimbriae. This is uterus. This is called cervix. Vagina. See this? Ovaries produce ovules. When the ovule is fused with the egg cell, sperm cell, then might be a chance to formation of the Zygote. When the zygote travels through the fallopian tube and finally attaches and embedded in the walls of the uterus, this process is commonly called as implantation. Okay. After implantation, in this particular zygote, there is a chance to production of mitotic division. This mitotic division, when the mitotic division takes place, as the divisions of the mitosis process is continuously occurs, okay, this is the responsible for growing of the zygote. Then it is commonly called as an embryo. As at the same time, uterine sac is gradually increases in its size. When it is continuously occurs up to the periods of the 9 months, the baby is continuously growing on again and again. And one more thing, during the growing of the time, there is a formation of placenta, chorion, amnion, and amniotic fluid and umbilical cord. These are all also forming again. Clear? So these are completely protecting layers are forming now. Along with this particular ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. These layers also responsible to form the new organs of the body, new organs of the baby once again. Clear? So when this process of this one, so when the egg is not fertilized, when the egg is not fertilized, the egg can automatically degenerates and also ruptures by the several cells present in the uterus and also cells present in the vagina. Okay, so then can automatically ruptures with more amount of blood. This is commonly called as menstruation process. If the egg is fertilized, this kind of process is going on now. Okay, so when the baby is growing on continuously to up to the 9 months, the baby is ready to triggering from 8th to 9th month. So basically the head region towards growing of the cervical regions. So after growing of this particular cervical regions of the head region, the layers presenting in the uterus, of course the muscles presenting in the uterus, the walls of the baby surrounding walls can also make the contractions. These contractions can also useful to triggering the baby to push it out. This particular, then there might be a mother can also bearing the several kinds of contractions are making just like as the pains. These are commonly called as labor or labor pains. Okay, so during this particular time, amnion and amniotic fluid can also breaks and ruptures. This is a good sign or symbolic when the baby is ready to release it out without having any hindrance. Are clear? When the baby is completely delivered by the natural methods, after this particular process also going on, then still there might be contractions that are going on. This is called as afterbirth. Still the excess amounts of fluid materials can automatically discharge it out. The umbilical cord attached to the navel part of the baby region then automatically swells and cut off. And still if it may be present, doctors can be cut off this particular region. After this particular delivery, okay, so mother from the mammary glands of the mother, a kind of a secretion is produced. That is commonly called as colostrum. Colostrum is produced. Okay, so this colostrum can also useful to the baby having to increasing immunity power. This can also maintains several kinds. This can also maintains immunity power. Can also avoid several kinds of infections and several kinds of diseases until the life death of the baby now. So that's the so within few days, as soon after the delivery, the colostrum is secreted from the mammary glands of the mother. Okay. So then in during the adolescence period, most of the persons, most of the teenagers, they doesn't have any proper idea regarding this particular reproductive health. So due to lack of this particular one, the adolescents can also bear that the adolescents can also face several kinds of reproductive infections, sexually transmitted infections, or sexually transmitted diseases, or sexually transmitted infections. Due to lack of this knowledge, during this particular time, they can also affect them with HIV/AIDS, gonorrhea, syphilis, and also the herpes. Okay, syphilis and gonorrhea, these two are called the bacterial diseases. Herpes and HIV/AIDS, of course, AIDS, these two are viral diseases. Due to lack of the knowledge, reproductive reproductive health, due to lack of the reproductive health, they can face this kind of a problems itself now. That's why, as an educated persons, the government of India also implemented a clear-cut topics and clear-cut programs in education. I mean, in the school levels also. Due to lack of this particular clear-cut knowledge, several kinds of infections may automatically affect into the adolescents. That's why the dangerous disease commonly called as AIDS. It is causing by HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. It is too dangerous disease which causing by the HIV. So both HIV and AIDS is not equal. HIV is the name of the virus. AIDS is the disease causing by the HIV. Okay. Basically, according to 2011-12 census, nearly 30 lakhs of 24 lakhs of people are suffering with HIV positives in our country. Okay, number of persons are also affected this particular one. Our Andhra Pradesh is in the topmost ranking according to 2011 and 12 census. Maharashtra and Karnataka are followed by our state. Basically, okay. So whatever it may be, the government of India also implemented a clear-cut programs to avoid this particular one. Okay, for this there is a program is commonly called as antiretroviral therapy (ART) centers, antiretroviral therapy treatments. Okay, so these treatments are also given by ASHA workers, accredited social health activists. They're giving the clear-cut suggestions and medicines through the ART centers to the particular HIV and AIDS patients. Okay. So along with this particular one, there are some methods. Those are called as contraceptive methods. Contraceptive methods are also called as birth controlling methods. Birth controlling methods. So avoiding unwanted pregnancies. Okay, within this particular teenage or adolescence period. These are commonly called as contraceptive methods. Of course, sometimes when the couples don't want to get the babies, then they can also making the using the methods that are commonly called as contraceptive methods. Okay, these are something safe methods. Okay, so for example, so within the contraceptive method, there are some physical and chemical methods. In physical methods, condoms and caps are available. Okay, and copper T and loops, these are all comes under as a physical methods. Whereas in the chemical methods, pills are also commonly called as the chemicals are available. The pills also available for the males today also. Those are commonly called as spermicides. Okay. Some of the methods, for example, complete permanent birth controlling methods. Vasectomy for the males and tubectomy for the females. Okay. A small incision for the vas difference is cut off in the males, and the both tied ends are cut when both cut ends are tied now. Whereas in the females, fallopian tube is cut off. Okay. The cut ends are automatically get tied. There is no chance to fuse the sperm cell directly with the egg cell now. Okay, vasectomy for the males, tubectomy for the females are completely called as permanent birth controlling methods. Okay. Still, the next point is called social evils. Teenage motherhood and female feticides. Teenage motherhood and female feticides. Already we know clearly, teenage motherhood is a two problem for the mother. It's not only problem for the mother, but also for the child, but also for the baby coming baby now. Whereas female feticides. Okay, when the baby's gender is female, for example, as a girl child, their parents would like to terminate and abort their pregnancies. This is not a clear cut program. This is not a clear cut process also. Okay, this is not only problem for the mother, but also in coming generation, coming time, their mother may not having any chance to getting pregnancies also. It is a sin. You understand? Okay, that's why the government of India and our Narendra Modi also giving the statement is called as Beti Bachao and Beti Padao. Okay, so one more thing. Who knows? The girl child may be a renowned chemist and great well doctor and a well popular engineer. Who knows? Okay, this particular girl child may can automatically reach several kinds of target today. Okay, that's why whatever it may be, any baby, either the boy or girl, we people have to accept. Otherwise, the male and female ratio of the country can automatically disturbs by making this particular female feticides. That's why the sex determination in all the hospitals should be completely banned. This is the crime process also now. Okay. So this is the reproduction process presenting in the animals. How the plants can reproduce. You know clearly, LS of Datura flower, there are the four holes are present. Calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Okay, androecium is commonly called as the male sexual parts of the flower, and gynoecium is called as female sexual part of the flower. When these two having the gametes, pollen grains are the male gametes and ovules are the female gametes. When these two are fusion with each other, there is a chance to formation of zygote, and the process of fertilization, you know clearly now. Before fertilization, pollination. Transferring of pollen grains from anther to stigma is called as pollination. By making the same flower of the same species is called as self-pollination. Okay. Another flower of the same species. This is commonly called as cross-pollination. Either after any self-pollination or cross-pollination, the next process is called as a fertilization. The process of fusion of male and female gametes is called as fertilization. Okay. After fertilization, there is a process of formation of seed. Okay. Before this process, already we know unisexual flowers and bisexual flowers, clear cut divisions clearly now. Okay. So after fertilization process, the fertile gametes can also form as a seed. Seed can make also just like as a small plant. Small plant after, for example, as a small fruit. Fruit after fruit can also give us a small plant once again and mature plant once again clearly now. This is cyclic process occurs continuously again and again. So after the formation of the seed, there is a epicotyle and hypocotyles, and also radicals and primmules also forming for the seeds also. Whereas radical can also represent as a root system. Next, plumule represents as a shoot system again now. Okay. Next, the important topic for final conclusion for this talk: mitosis and meiosis. You know clearly, mitosis occurs in somatic cells. Meiosis occurs in germ cells or sexual cells or reproductive cells. At the end of the mitosis, two cells are producing. At the end of the meiosis, four cells are producing. This occurs in somatic cells. This occurs in germ cells. Okay, two diploid cells are producing here, and four haploid cells are producing in meiosis. Okay, so remaining points already you know. At the end of the one, completely gametes are just like chromosomal number should not be changed in the mitosis, whereas the chromosomal number should be reducing by half in meiosis. I understand. Clear. Next one, asexual and sexual. You know clearly, as the gametes are not involving here in this asexual, gametes are completely involved here. No formation of zygote, formation of zygote. Okay, new characters are not involved. New characters are not existed within the asexual mode of reproduction. New characters are completely involved in sexual mode of reproduction. Producing offspring is completely identical to the parent. But whereas in sexual reproduction, producing offspring have some characters from the male, some characters from the female, some characters may not be present in either of the parents. Okay, these kind of producing offspring have completely utilizing for production of new evolutionary characters. Okay, whereas these offsprings are not compatible for evolution of characters. Okay, so these are the reproductive topic here. No, no. The next topic we will discuss later on coming topics. Okay, thank you.